All right, watch fans, you've been asking for it, and we got a little close with the Nesterov, but you've wanted the Vostok Europe, and it has taken months to be able to put this together. Here it is. Now, I'm going to go through let's just say I know you guys like to watch the introduction and then you cut it off and then you go buy your watch, and that's fine. However, I really urge you to watch the entire video. I know it's going to be long. There's a great story behind this watch, the design, how it got built, the movement, the whole 9 yards. A lot of stuff going on, but just a quick overview for those of you that just like that. We've got two options, and obviously, as you can see, the smoothly sweeping second hand that has been done on this. This is an automatic movement in the radio room, which is this watch. It is a 31 jewel genuine Russian Vostok 2426 movement, which is also going to give you, as you can see with this additional hand right here and the use of this outer rotating bezel, a secondary time zone or GMT. Does have your your date displayed down here at the 6 o'clock position on this particular timepiece. It is done in all black. This one is your orange option, as you can see being utilized here, and then of course I'll show you in the detailed review contrast orange stitching that has been done on the 22 millimeter strap. The biggest difference that you're going to find is, number one, this is the one that's most limited, and for a lot of you guys who don't subscribe to my early notification list, by the time you're watching this, you have missed out on this watch, because there are very, very few of them, and I expect it to sell out extremely quick. We have a few more in the blue, which I'll show you in a minute, but that one is very limited as well. Besides the color is going to be the lume. Now the lume is super luminova, and I apologize for the glare. Slightly domed crystal here is giving me fits with the lighting, but besides the superluminova where you would expect it on the hands, hour markers, etc., are these pie pieces or these wedges, which we'll get into in the detailed review. But these are all fully lume. So at the very top of the page where you're viewing this video, for those of you not on YouTube anyway, go to the page, the address is there, hotnesspicks.com. You can see the lume shots of this watch. Those wedges are also done in superluminova. Okay? Now, this is the orange option. As I try to gently pan ever so slightly to the right, again, fighting glare, but what you're going to see is the blue option. So everything that you saw before that was orange, in this case, is going to be blue, including the stitching on the black leather strap. But the wedges, the pie pieces, the 3 minutes cone of silence that you see being here, and I'll explain what that means in a minute, is done in blue and is not, repeat, not luminescent. Okay? Everything else that you see, hands, markers, etc., is. So, what are you getting? You're getting this watch, plus you are going to get a NATO strap. And let me see if I can get these into the shot here very quickly. Here is the orange. Now, the orange option is going to give you the black NATO with the orange stripe that you can see that is running through there. And as I turn this over, you can see down here on the end, it is your standard 3-ring NATO style strap. That is going to be included with your purchase. For the blue option is going to be the all black NATO strap. And let me see if I can just get that in there real quick. Of course, the hardware is black as well, meaning the rings, the buckle, whatnot, as you can see that I'm putting in there. This is going to come with the blue. Now, in addition to that, you are also going to get a signed certificate of authenticity from Igor, and I'm going to try to really not mess up his name. If I do, I totally apologize, because Igor is a great guy. Zubovskij. Igor Zubovskij. He's the managing director, think like CEO over here, of Vostok Europe. And Craig Hester, who is the owner of, along with his wife, of Detente Watch Group and Russia2all.com. Russia2all is Craig's website. He is under the Detente Watch Group, the exclusive, I believe it's North American distributor for Vostok Europe. Now, we're not done. Also, the watch box that you're going to receive, and I'm going to have to try and get the watches out of the way very, very carefully so I can show you this real quick, is going to be the Vostok Europe watch box, which you're seeing right there. There's the lid. But it is also going to be signed, as this one is. There is Craig Hester's name and signature on one side, and if we rotate it all the way around, there is Igor's name and signature. So you've got that going for you with the certificate of authenticity. And, by the way, you are also going to get, let me get the watch back in the shot here, wrap up this intro. You're going to get a card that comes with this from About Time magazine, owned by Gary Gervanis. Gary's a great guy. Highly recommend his About Time magazine. But they did a great article on the Radio Room in About Time. And the card, when you fill it out and send it in to them, About Time will send you, free of charge, the issue that they did that contains the Radio Room. And it's a great breakdown, a lot of the information you're going to see on there, but it is a fantastic package for $189. The watch with the genuine Russian Vostok movement, GMT secondary time zone, on the leather strap, plus the NATO style strap, plus the dual signed box, the dual signed certificate of authenticity, and, if you so desire, the ability to get the About Time magazine, and I highly recommend the magazine. So that's it. That's the quick overview. I'm going to jump into a detailed watch review. We're going to talk about the movement. We're going to talk about the origins behind this design and a little special story about how this watch got made, because it almost didn't get made. So check it out. $189, lowest price point that I've seen on the radio rooms, and it has never been offered ever in this kind of package deal where you're getting all of the extras to come to you at this super low price point. Do not hesitate, or you may miss out, especially if you want the orange. Pause this, go purchase it. Look for the coupons. I put them all over the place. Just click on the purchase now. Russia2all website will open up. It'll show you what the coupon code is. That's the way we've got to do this one, based off of coupons. So take advantage of it, and let's take a look at the detailed review. Alright, detailed video review of the much anticipated Vostok Europe Radio Room Automatic. I have chosen the blue to be able to do the detailed review, because quite frankly the orange is going to sell out in a heartbeat. It is that limited, and I think that's where people are going to go for the enhanced Superluminova. But there is certainly nothing at all wrong with this blue option that you're seeing here. It's absolutely gorgeous. I would add either one to my personal collection in a heartbeat. And by the way, for those of you wondering, out of the 300 plus watches that I own, yes, I do own watches from Craig, meaning the brands that he represents, Vostok Europe being one of them. As a matter of fact, I was very fortunate to get a one of one watch from Vostok, so I was very happy about that. So before we dive into the watches, a few stories, quick ones, to give you some perspective on this particular timepiece. The original design, and by that I mean these pie pieces or wedges, there's 4 of them. One at the 12, one at the 3, one at the 6, one at the 9, or not quite at each one of those. They are offset. There's a very interesting story behind that, and if you notice the images that I have in the slider at the top of the hotnesspicks.com website, you will see a clock, and that is a genuine Vostok naval clock. Now, Vostok and Vostok Europe are not the same company. They are different companies, okay? just for those of you not familiar with the brand. Vostok Europe is based in Vilnius, Lithuania. They are not Russian, by the way. Let's get that gorilla out of the room. They are not a part of Russia any longer. They're actually a part of the European Union. So please don't think you're supporting Vladimir Putin or anything crazy like that. You're not. Just in case anybody was thinking that. But these pie wedges are there, and the overall design of this dial is there because of the Titanic. Yes, the Titanic, as in, you know, Leo DiCaprio leaning on, I'm the king of the world. Isn't that what he said, king of the world? Whatever, he was leaning off, yeah. So what happened was, and I don't know how much you know about the Titanic, whether you saw the movie, which actually had some historically correct stuff in there, but one of the biggest problems they had was with their radio, the radio room. The traffic on the radios back then was like the Wild West. You just had people talking all over each other, and they had a problem getting their distress calls out. Now, there was some other things going on. I'm not going to bore you with that. But as a result of the Titanic and the huge investigation that went into, you know, why did it sink, why did so many people die, etc., was this problem in being able to get out the radio signal, the distress signal to the other ships to come save the people that are in the frigid waters, etc., and while the ship was sinking. In what came out of that is known as the Radio Room Act of 1912. And what that originally put forth was, at the top and the bottom of each hour was radio silence for 3 minutes to allow for a time period, twice an hour, for anybody that was in distress to be able to put forth that distress signal. Now, it was then modified to include periods at the 15 and 45 minute mark. So there were 4 3-minute sections, and that's exactly what each of these pie pieces or wedges indicate is a 3-minute color. Now, you'll notice the 15 and the 9 o'clock positions are different than, ever so slightly, from the 12 and the 6 o'clock position. And the reason for that is, at the 12 and 6 o'clock 3-minute distress periods is set up for Morse code. So if there's an issue with your radio system and all you have is Morse code, that is what you would use. The periods that were added later are for verbal communications at the 15 and 45 minute mark for 3 seconds. So that's why they're different, to differentiate that. Now, what's cool is Vostok, the Russian company, made the naval clocks for the Russian Navy, and other countries bought them as well, to use on the ships. And that's that image that you see, that off-white and kind of red look. That is an actual clock built by Vostok, which was the original design inspiration of this. And coming into the design, this is my buddy Craig Hester design. He spent about a year, if not a little more than a year, actually, I don't want to say arguing because that has a negative connotation, but convincing Igor of Vostok Europe to make this watch. It originally came out, debuted in about 2012, hugely successful for Vostok Europe and for Craig as the North American distributor for Vostok. And I highly recommend, by the way, the Vostok Europe folks. When I was in Basel, Switzerland, in 2013, I spent quite an amount of time with Igor and the rest of his team, his chief designer, his operations manager, all of those folks. Spent time in their booth, and I'm not talking about going by the booth, shaking their hand and being introduced and then shuffling off. I'm talking about hours and hours over a period of several days, sitting down with Igor, talking about his watches, making suggestions to him that he was soliciting from me on, modifications, watches that are coming up. Of course, Craig was there. He made the introductions. We had a great dinner that I was so very kindly invited to be able to attend. Also, Gary Gervais. That's where I spent some time with Gary, getting to know him. He is the owner and publisher, editor chief bottle washer probably too, of About Time magazine, which again, highly recommended. Get your copy. Actually, get a subscription. Believe me, it's a fantastic magazine. Highly, highly recommend it. But super bunch of folks, you know, you've heard me say before, when, you know, there's some good folks in this business and some bad folks. Igor, as well as Craig, and I've already said that, both fall into that good category. So that's kind of the whole thing behind this. Let's get through the rest of the watch really, really quickly, because I know time is already building up on this. So what do you have? Case diameter. And remember, case diameter, 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock is how we measure that, not 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, is going to be 46 millimeters in case diameter. I can already hear some of you moaning, you fans of the huge oversized watches, which I happily put myself into. I'd wear the Radio Room any day of the week. 46 millimeters is what I've said, you know, when you've watched me on the TV shows. For those of you have seen me on TV doing the watch thing, that's what I call the Goldilocks size. Okay, 46, 47, 48 millimeters really are, if you have a smaller wrist and you prefer a smaller size, you can wear this. If you like the larger stuff, you can wear this as well. It really does pull double duty. One of the things I want you to notice, besides the glare that I cannot get rid of, so hopefully the rest of the watch is showing up, notice the thickness, or the lack of thickness actually, on the bezel. Okay, it is a very thin bezel, which means the dial opening is very large. That's how you make a watch visually appear larger. It wears larger on the wrist because of the dial opening in comparison to the rest of the case. Very thin bezel makes the watch wear larger, and you can, by the way, do that in reverse. Very thick bezels will help to reduce the size of the watch. Now, it is a very comfortable weight. I put this on my scale at home. It rings in on the leather, excuse me, at about 125 grams. And obviously on the NATO is going to be even lighter than that. So it's not going to really weigh you down in your ability to be able to wear this. 20 ATMs, water resistant. You do have the impact resistant mineral crystal, going to give you scratch resistance and impact resistance. Superluminova, I've already mentioned. You can see on the hands and on your hour markers, and then of course the orange, if there's any left, the pie pieces or the wedges are done in Superluminova as well. Now the movement running in this, it has kind of an interesting story as well. This is a 31 jewel Vostok 24-26 caliber movement. Now, one of the reasons why some of you should be thinking about this watch is specifically because of this movement. If you haven't got to this point in your watch collecting and you're watching this, that's great. But a lot of you buy watches based on movements to have those movements in your collection in a watch that you like. Now, obviously, the styling on this is very cool and very nice. But the Vostok movement is genuine Russian. So I know a lot of you are not going to have a genuine Russian movement in your timepiece. And this is an automatic, meaning you can wind it via the crown that's over here, or simply by wearing it. I'll show you the back, the custom rotor for Vostok Europe in the black with the decoration, etc. The furnace blue screws that are used on that. It does have an exhibition case back. But the 24-26 caliber movement is essentially based off of the ETA 2893. And you may not be familiar with the 2893, but that is going to be your GMT movement. That is why you see this additional fourth hand right there below my pointer. Okay, could have been a better spot, but I'm sorry I didn't. So you've got your minute hand, your hour hand, your second hand, and then your GMT hand. And you use that in conjunction with your dodecahedron. Yes. You didn't think I'd get to use that word since I'm not on TV anymore. Sean Wilsey, if you're watching this, shout out, buddy. There's a long story. You guys that watch the shows know what's going on there. 12-shaped or 12-angled directional bezel that's been done on this, and that is where you would change this to give you a secondary 24-hour time zone, which is also, by the way, why you have the half and half bezel, meaning the black here and the blue here. This is, when centered this way, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. is considered the daylight hours, and then your nighttime is the black, which is going to be 9 a.m. going back over to 6 a.m. But you would just line this up for the appropriate time to where your hand is, and then be able to track that secondary time zone. Now, what's cool about this, besides being a genuine Russian Vostok movement, is that the 24-26 caliber is only available to Vostok Europe. That is a special deal that they have put together. So if you want that Russian movement, if you like the GMT complication, or you want the 24-26, or just the genuine Russian Vostok movement, when it comes to this one, that's the only way to be able to get it. So it is going to be very cool. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned this in the introduction part of this video. These are limited editions. I believe 300 were done in the blue that you see here, and 500 or so in the orange. I believe I got that correct. So you've got that going for you as well. Now, one of the things I really want you to know, besides your standard functionality of the movement, hours, minutes, seconds, you do have the mechanical date down here, the GMT, is the smoothness that you're going to find the first time you wind this via the crown. It is absolutely amazing. And I know I'm just going to irritate some of you, but I'm going to do it anyway. The bezel, super smooth, and I want you to notice no slop. See how it's not going the opposite direction, only turns one direction. Hopefully you can hear those clicks as they go through, but the winding on this is as smooth as any, or more so, to be quite honest with you, than any other watch I've seen. It is absolutely amazing. For those of you that own a Valjoux 7750 and you go to hand wind that thing, I'm not saying there's an issue with the Valjoux, but you know how tight it is to kind of wind it? You almost have to put a little effort into it. Oh man, this thing, I'm telling you, smoother than butter. Okay? Now, watches, both of them are going to be in the black PVD, genuine leather strap, 22 millimeters wide. And as a matter of fact, let me turn this around for you here very, very quickly. Here you can see the blue is going to give you the blue stitching here, double row of the contrast stitching. The orange is obviously going to give you the orange. It is very comfortable on the wrist. I will do the wrist shot at the end of this video. Sitting above the dodecahedron, see, I got to use it twice now, bezel, you'll see slightly domed on that crystal. That's why I'm fighting the glare. I hope you can see that. Let me pull it in and tilt it just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Not terribly thick on this particular timepiece. It will be a little bit more so because of that slightly domed crystal that's been utilized on this particular watch. But very easy to wear. So the question is, ladies, can you wear this? Absolutely 100% yes, you can. It is light enough on the wrist and of the appropriate size. It is still going to appear a little bit oversized for some of you with the more dainty or petite style wrists, but yes, you can pull this off very, very easily. Now, I mentioned the Vostok, the 24-26 movement. Let me pop this off the stand very, very quickly, if you guys don't mind me getting my hands in the shot here. And of course, standard buckle. Now, here is our case back, and let me see if I can get a little bit closer in on this since we're shooting in high def. There you can see through the exhibition case back the Vostok Europe custom rotor. You can see the Coteau de Genève or tuxedo stripe that has been done on that black rotor. That's that guillotine shaped piece. See it going back and forth. That swinging around while you're wearing it is what helps to keep the watch wound. 22 millimeter strap. Now, as long as we're here, some of you have seen me demonstrate this before, but I want to show it to you again. What have I told you about how to check if you're getting a quality leather strap? It is to turn it around and look at the stitching on the back side. Notice the length of the stitching is very, very similar. The spacing between the stitching is all very, very similar from stitch to stitch. As a matter of fact, the only thing you see is right at the end when they do that crossover, linking the two of those together. So a very nicely done strap. It is very comfortable on the wrist, very little break-in time. Again, there is your exhibition case back with, by the way, you don't have to pay for any of the glare that I'm showing you. Trying to keep that off so you can see the movement that is inside of that. And then, of course, here is the buckle side of the strap as well, dual keeper system, Vostok Europe. Again, 22 millimeters in diameter. And here, since I already mentioned it, I'll try to give you a better idea. See how it's slightly domed right in the center of that crystal, how it's raised up? So when you do measure this top to bottom, you get a little bit of an increase there. But everything about this is going to give you a smoothness on the wrist. Now again, I'll just slide the orange in here one more time so you can get another glimpse of that for those of you who got in very, very early and are on the email list. There you go. This is a fantastic movement. So one more time, let me just give it to you, a quick rundown on what you're getting. You're going to get the watch of your choice, an orange or the blue. Most of you are going to go for blue because the orange is going to sell out. It is 46 millimeters in case diameter, 20 ATMs, water resistant. It is a very unique custom dial, in this case done with the Superluminova, to represent the actual naval clocks built by Vostok, the same company that is building this movement that is proprietary to Vostok Europe. Remember, they are separate companies, which is the 31 jewel Vostok 2426, giving you the secondary time zone through the use of the fourth hand and your unidirectional rotating very thin bezel. Comes on a leather strap with contrast stitching. Each watch will also include the NATO style strap, done in canvas, 3-ring. If you've owned the NATOs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not used to the NATOs, you'll see what I'm talking about as soon as you get it home. Signed certificate of authenticity on this timepiece with a little bit of the history going back to, as I said, the Radio Room Act of 1912 with those 3-minute wedges that have been done in 2 different styles, as I've already explained. You're going to get the double-signed Vostok Europe watch box, signed by both Igor and Craig, one on each side of that. And you're going to get compliments of Gary Gervais and About Time magazine, the ability at no charge, except for the postage, to send in a little postage card. Look, everybody can afford... Wow, how much does a postcard even cost now? I don't know. Haven't sent a postcard in so long. Anyway, you send a little card in, they're going to be very happy to send you that. When you do get it, I urge you to take advantage of getting a subscription to that magazine. I know a lot of you already have subscriptions, but check out the magazine. You're going to see what I'm talking about. He does this cool front and back thing, dual cover magazine. And here's the thing. Those other magazines that do the really high-priced watches that none of us are ever going to own, that's cool to look at, right? Gary in About Time magazine covers timepieces that we can all afford. I think the upper end of anything that he reviews, wow, I'm having to think about this, is like $2,000 or $2,500 and below. So a lot of the watch brands besides the Vostok Europe, Zoftra is one, Android is one. There's just been a huge number. But anyway, that's the entire package. $189, never been offered anywhere else, only as a Hotness Pick. So grab this. If you've got questions, you can post them on my YouTube channel for those of you that are watching on YouTube, or you can go check it out. Just do a quick search for Hotness Picks. It'll show you all the other videos I've done. You can jump in there. Info@hotnesspicks.com, my Facebook page. any way that you want to be able to communicate with me, but take advantage of this deal. I am so happy to be able to bring in the first Vostok Europe. You guys don't know how much work went into getting this, and then be able to get this price for this watch with this entire package is utterly ridiculous. Grab this while you can. Thanks for checking it out. This is the Hotness. Talk to you soon. Alright, as promised, the obligatory wrist shot. Here is my manly man wrist, right at about, actually a little over 8 inches. I've gained some weight since I've moved, but we're about to change that, and you probably really don't care. But just to give you perspective of how it looks on the wrist, how it's going to fit, how it's going to wear. Now, the leather strap, I could actually go one more notch on this, tightening, and still have it be very, very comfortable. Easy to wear, plenty of room. I can still get into the double keepers, not an issue at all. And obviously on the NATO style strap, it is going to be even larger wrists can accommodate that. But as you can see, very comfortable on the wrist. Not a lot of overhang here on the shortened lugs, so the design on this is going to be perfect. So there you go. It's on the wrist. Thanks again for checking it out. Get your order in. It's the Hotness.